Hello everybody, welcome to the channel of MeteoMark Weather. It's great to have you here with me today. We're going to start off quick with the tropics. We're talking about that easterly flow that's going to continue to push that moisture into many of the Caribbean islands as well as Central America. We'll be looking at how much these rainfall totals could be, and we're also going to look at the possibility, could we have Subtropical Storm Tony in the making here? And I have your complete winter storm outlook as yes, we do have a surge of moisture, mainly in the form of rain early week here, but come the middle of this coming week, we have Wednesday storm that could pull some very cold air back down on the backside of the storm, and we could actually have the rain changing over to a heavy wet snow from the Appalachians up into the interior Northeast and the eastern Great Lakes. Let's get into it. So starting off with the GFS model here for the tropics, and I do have your winter storm outlook about several minutes from now, a little later in the video, but let's take a look at the tropics. How's everybody doing in the Caribbean down here? I know I've got many reports of rainfall from my viewers down here. So as we just continue through Monday into Tuesday, you can see more showers continuing across Costa Rica here, all the way up to Honduras and Belize. Also this northeast coast of Jamaica, especially in and around Portland Parish. That's where we're going to be watching. Also look at here across the north central Caribbean islands. That's what we're going to be looking for. And as we continue throughout the week, I want to make note of something that's going to be blasting down from the north. There's a frontal boundary. It's going to tap into some tropical moisture, and unfortunately that means Pacific side, we're going to bring moisture up into Honduras and Belize here. So that is some bad news. I'm also going to be talking about this feature just momentarily. Hold on for a second there. So as we continue through the week here, the 11th into the 12th, you can see all the moisture sets up across Honduras and Belize, unfortunately. And we continue to have those easterly winds affecting northeastern Jamaica in particular, and the north coastline here of Dominican Republic, Haiti, and Puerto Rico. Now, as we continue in time, you can see conditions continue to moisten here across Central America, especially the north coast of Honduras, eastern Jamaica, all the north and eastern coastlines that face these directions. And if you have mountain ranges in those areas, yeah, it'll squeeze out the moisture, so to speak here. So as we head through the 15th into the 16th, you can see what's going on here. We do have a lot of tropical moisture. Another frontal boundary tries to make it down in the Gulf here. That's going to bring a southerly flow once again. So we'll be getting moisture from the east and the south as well as we head through the 19th into the 20th. So, you know, the rule here is increase moisture, and we could be looking at a strong tropical wave as we get towards the 19th and the 20th here. So watch out for that as we continue in time. Now, let's just back up our model here. I want to talk about what could be Subtropical Storm Tony. The good news is the only area it may impact here is Bermuda. This is going out to the 12th. You can see this system out here. It's holding on out here, and it's pretty well protected here. Most of the frontal boundaries are heading up and north of this ridge of high pressure. So here it is, trying to close off a low pressure system as we head on into the 13th, into the 14th. Now it is possible this could try to veer a little bit more southwesterly, so I want you to keep an eye on this if you live in the north central and northeastern Caribbean islands. But the good news is this run of the GFS takes it and eventually pushes it up towards the north and eventually the east as it gets caught in the westerlies. Now let's take a look at the European run here. You can see Honduras, especially. Let's just stop. There we go. So as we're heading on into the rest of the week here, you can get the picture here. This is more of the same. Look at this. There's actually a tropical wave right in line with Trinidad and Tobago as we head on into Tuesday and into Wednesday here. So the 10th into the 11th. Look at this big mess here across parts of Central America. You have this frontal boundary pushing in from the north, this easterly and southerly flow as well, bringing in moisture, unfortunately, right centered over the north coastline of Honduras. That has been the trend the past month, and unfortunately that's going to continue as we head through the 13th into the 14th. That northeast-facing coastline here of Jamaica with these northeasterly winds, you're going to continue to get that moisture. Now, here's the evidence of what could be potentially becoming Subtropical Storm Tony. It's a little bit further to the south here on the European run, and of course at 1:44 hour we lose our precipitation feed. The good news is the European's not really closing off too much here. All right, so thanks to Tropical Tidbits for our mid-layer dry air and moist air analysis here. You can see as we go through this week, the one good news is here we have a lot of mid-layer dry air. which is kind of interesting because we're going to continue to see these showers develop. Look, the north coast of Honduras, though. This is where the concern continues for flooding rains, and this is just going to continue. Now, as we head through the 16th, Monday the 16th, we get into the new week. Next week, look at this. We do see a massive surge in tropical moisture across the southern Caribbean here, and then out into parts of the western and central Caribbean. So watch out for this. And one quick note here, look at this. As we head through the week, this is our potential subtropical storm that could be forming. This could possibly be Tony. See how it's kind of just meandering out here? The good news is it gets a lot of dry air wrapped into it. But you can see by Monday the 16th, here it is trying to close off a low just south of Bermuda and north of Puerto Rico. And let's take a look at our European run for this week. As we continue to go out here in time, you can actually see what's going on here with the dry air. Yeah, the European model is showing moist air continuing for the north coast of Honduras as we head through the middle of the week, through Belize, the Yucatan. The good news is, look at all this dry air to the east here, but look at the European model going crazy with our subtropical storm out here. So don't think this is going to become a full tropical storm. Subtropical storm likely, potentially here. So we'll watch out for this. The good news is, so far, both of the major models are keeping this to the northeast of the Caribbean islands. So looking at rainfall amounts here across the Caribbean with our GFS model. Unfortunately, that north coast of Honduras into South Belize, even eastern Belize, coastal areas, still getting tremendous amounts of rain here. This actually takes us through the third week of December. And look at this, from Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, up to Belize here, even up the coastline of the Yucatan. These areas, we're looking at an easily 200 to 250 millimeters. Let's get our marker thing out here. Look at this. Some of these amounts towards Honduras, 300 millimeters. So you're going to be getting up towards that 6, almost 10 inches in some of these areas. So this is not looking very good here. Now, if you look over towards Jamaica, there's that Portland parish getting an additional 100 to 200 millimeters here. So these northeast parishes of Jamaica will continue to get those easterly winds, that moisture flow, as well as the north coast of Hispaniola here. So watch out. And hopping over to the European model here, showing a very similar picture. That north coast of Honduras is really targeted over the next week or two. If we just put this back into motion, a lot of this falling later on this week, Thursday, Friday, into next weekend. So we could be looking at totals. Look at this, 400 millimeters. You know, that's getting dangerous in excess of a foot of rain plus. So this is just not looking like a very good situation. South Belize, north coast of Honduras, even down towards Costa Rica here. And there it is, the northeastern provinces of Jamaica getting upward of 100, 150 millimeters here. So look at that, close to 200 millimeters, Portland Parish. So watch out. Those easterly moisture fetches with the trade winds just continuing here. As we look to the eastern Caribbean here, yeah, we're looking pretty moist here for this time of year. It's supposed to be getting into your dry season, but look at this. This is all associated with what could become subtropical storm Tony here. That's going to keep most of the rain to the northeast, but we're still looking Trinidad Tobago all the way up through Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, these north coasts especially, and these east coasts over here towards the Lesser Antilles. You'll be getting up towards 50, maybe as high as 100 millimeters here, so you're getting up towards about an inch to as much as 3 inches in some areas. And hopping over to the GFS model, you can see a similar picture. We can go further out here, but you get the idea. That east moist flow just continues. So many areas getting upwards of 100 millimeters here. That'll get you up towards 3 to 4 inches on average. So if we take a look at your future radar here, we're going to take a look at this system approaching the northeast as we head on into Monday. So here we go. We got some snow showers up in northern New England as we head through the rest of your day on Sunday. We do have a little bit of lake effect here, but a lot of this is actually developing in advance of a warm front that's going to be pushing in from the south. And we do got some moisture down here in the Mississippi River Valley. These two areas are going to be meeting up for a storm. Look at this. As we head towards 5 a.m. on Monday, it's starting to rain in Detroit, Cleveland, all the way down through the Appalachians here and towards the north central Gulf Coast. To the north along the U.S.-Canadian border, that is where we're seeing the rain, or the snowfall for that matter. And look at this, as we get into 11 a.m., on Monday morning. We're getting rainfall moving in across the I-81 corridor here of New York and Pennsylvania. That pushes to the northeast, and by the time you get out of work, it's just going to be more showery. Now, up here into parts of northern New England, you could see 2 to 4 inches out of this storm system moving to the northeast. Nothing like warning criteria, but the cold air does seem to erode by this point. And then we set us up for Tuesday, the 10th here, as we head towards 7 p.m. Look at this. We might actually have a line of convection across the Appalachians heading on into North Georgia and western North and South Carolina. So watch out for that. This is our last frame, but you can see there is evidence of colder air filtering on the backside of this storm system. So let's pick up where our NAM 3 kilometer future radar left off. So as we're continuing to cruise on throughout the week, we got that first storm up here, obviously Monday into Tuesday. Northern New England, Southeast Canada getting the snow and mixed precipitation. There is that next surge of moisture. Now watch this as we head on into 7 a.m. on the 11th. So we're getting into Wednesday morning here. Look at this moisture surge all the way from the Florida Panhandle, all the way up through the Carolinas and into the Northeast. Rainfall here into interior starts out in the morning, but look at over here into eastern Kentucky and Ohio. That's where we start to get the cold air filtering on the backside. This is towards 1 p.m. The cold air makes it all the way down to North Georgia, western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee and Kentucky and Ohio. Could have some wet snowflakes as far westward as Cleveland here. Look at Pittsburgh and Buffalo and Rochester a Wednesday afternoon on the 11th. You're getting fully into this for heavy wet snow. And then look at the I-95 corridor. You're socked in with heavy rain, and you really do need the rain up here. This is actually some good news. It could bring some heavy wind action as well, especially on the east side of the system. But look at this. As we head towards 10 p.m., we're having this wraparound snow, rain changing to snow, so things will start freezing up. Potentially look for a flash freeze here. Downstate New York over to southeastern New England, it looks like you stay all rain at this point. This snow really filters up into parts of Quebec and southern Ontario, which I'll cover in my Canadian weather outlook just momentarily here. But look at the lake effect streamers really kicking in off Lake Erie, Ontario, Superior, Michigan, all these other areas with lake effect. That is going to be short-lived as we head on into Friday the 13th here, as the southerly flow really kicks in next weekend into early the following week. And look at this. We could have a carbon copy system trying to form around the 17th here, although it does look a little bit weaker, but it's the same idea. Look at this on the backside of this system. Snow really starting to kick up into the 18th, into the 19th here, and this system really does start to wind up. So it's possible this could end up eventually being a bigger system, 984 millibars. Look at on the backside of this. This would bring heavy snow all the way down to Harrisburg, Washington, D.C., This is something to really keep an eye on, but I do warn you, it's pretty far out. It could be quite a storm if this verifies. And looking at snowfall amounts here on our GFS model, you can see right along the Canadian border here, up into parts of the Midwest, that's where we'll see 6 or more inches. Also, with the backside of the system on Wednesday, look at this across the Appalachians into parts of the Northeast. We could be looking at those higher elevations, especially getting 6 inches and 2 to 4 inches in the lower elevations. And as we go further out on the GFS, yeah, there's another storm that looks like it could occur around Thursday, the 19th, and Friday into the 20th. So we'll have to watch out for that as well. If we take a look at the European run here, yeah, you can see on the backside of this system on Wednesday into early Thursday, the lake effect kicks in, but we're also going to have a couple inches, at least here on the European model, of slushy wet accumulations in the valleys, maybe even more on the hilltops, so stay tuned. That could be interesting. And then another storm system, the European, going a little bit further north and west with our 19th and 20th system. And if we look at the European model here into the northeast, there is that backside of the system. Initially, we have a shot of snow on Monday night and Tuesday for parts of New England, around 2 to 3 inches. And then our system later Wednesday into Thursday night in particular. This is what we're looking at. The European has toned down the snowfall amounts for the most part, looking like a 2 to 4 inch event. in these areas with locally higher here in the Adirondacks. And then the lake enhanced gets cranking here south of Buffalo and right around Erie, just north of Cleveland at this point. And looking over to the GFS model zoomed in, there it is, still going pretty crazy with snowfall amounts. Wednesday night in particular, look at this. Cleveland about an inch, but look at towards Erie, up towards 4 to 6, 7 inches. And then Binghamton over here, the higher elevations could see upwards of 6-inch plus in some of these areas. Valleys looking at more like 2 to 4 inches. So we'll keep an eye on it here, even in northern New England, even down in through the Appalachians here. We could be getting some snowfall. And here's the liquid equivalent precipitation here on our latest European model. You can see, yeah, this model run has increased the precipitation along the north central Gulf Coast all the way up the East Coast here. So we're looking at those darker purples, lighter purples, 1 to 2 inches with locally higher here into the maroon color, and red about 2 to 2.5 inches. So a lot of moisture with our two systems, one Monday and then one later Tuesday into Wednesday. And if we continue through here, you can see the trend through, this takes us actually through Monday, the 23rd of December. Look at the surge of moisture back east here. And here it is with the latest GFS. You can see even more totals here coming in with the GFS model, really going crazy here into the red zones where you definitely need it. Look at this, 2 to almost 3.5 inches in some of these areas, locally higher amounts, even down here into parts of Georgia and the Carolinas. You could see some heavier rain as we just cruise on through the middle to latter part of the month. Yeah, we're just adding on top of that an unsettled pattern here across the east. And before we continue with more weather coverage, don't forget if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to read your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe bell notification button so you're alerted with all my future weather video updates. And if you haven't caught my 2024-2025 winter outlook, a link in the description down below and also at the end of this video. Check that out to see what I think is going to happen this winter. Let's continue. Now let's head over to our Canadian weather forecast here. As we head throughout the week, you can see the big story is going to be the first part of the week here. If we can just get our pencil going, look at this. Snowfall across southern Ontario. You're going to get some accumulation here, and we'll go over those accumulations just momentarily. But here we go. We head on into the 10th, into the 11th. I just want to slow this down because this could be a major deal for you into southeastern Ontario, all the way through Quebec here. There could be snowfall totals over 30 centimeters here, several inches or more. Look at this. That dark blue zone, this could be quite a low pressure system on the 12th into the 13th later on this week as it blasts up into the Canadian Maritimes and eventually just east of Hudson Bay. Now look at the west coast of Canada. That's where you're going to start to see some action as we head through the 16th. Also another area of low pressure coming from the United States. It's actually going to get some rainfall all the way up to the very southern tip of Hudson Bay here, James Bay to be exact here. So this system really plowing to the north. The backside of it, southwestern Ontario, gets some heavy snow, as is British Columbia out on the west coast. And look at this. We get that big storm from the United States right around the 19th into the 20th. That could be kicking some major snow up into Quebec here in the Canadian Maritimes. Manitoba, you do have an Alberta clipper by the time the 20th comes along here, so watch out for that as that dives to the south with very limited moisture as we go through December 24th here. Lots of high pressure building in and liquid equivalent here of precipitation across Canada. We just head through Christmas Eve here. Look at this. All the way on the west coast, of course, that's where you're going to get the 100 to 200 plus millimeters. You know, you're getting up towards 3 to 7 plus inches liquid equivalent. Look at southeast Canada, though, especially southeastern Ontario, Quebec, all through New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland here. You're all looking at 70 to as much as 125 millimeters here. It's going to get you up towards 2.5, close to 5.5 inches liquid equivalent. So very active weather pattern. If we look at those snowfall totals here, yeah, you're getting quite a bit here. Of course, the west coast of Canada always does, you know, with these Pacific systems, you're getting upwards of those mountainous areas in excess of 80 centimeters plus. But look at here across southeastern Canada, southern Ontario, Quebec area, even parts of New Brunswick. This is where some of these areas over the next 2 to 3 weeks could be eclipsing 25, 30, even 40 centimeters plus of snowfall here. And some of these orangish shadings here, you could be approaching 50, 60 centimeters. So we're looking at well above average snowfall as we head through December here. This is kind of exciting. And in the Western Pacific, what is going on out here? Well, we got a lot of moisture for this time of year. Do want to warn you, typhoon season never really officially ends, but the central northern Philippines over here towards Vietnam, and look at lining up out here as we head through Tuesday the 10th. We do have some areas of concern. Nothing in the short term that looks like it's going to develop. So let's just put this into motion. We're going to be looking at a very active intertropical convergence zone. Let's just back this up a little bit because it really fast forward. There we go. So the 15th into the 16th, we may have an area of low pressure trying to close off here. All three of these bear watching. It looks like Vietnam, you're getting the easterly flow here along the coast, so you're also going to get some tropical moisture really flooding inward here. So as we continue through the middle of the month here, we could be looking at a couple of these systems trying to close off. Do I think they're going to become typhoons? Probably not. But I want to warn you, look at this. This is a frontal boundary making it all the way into the South China Sea, northern Philippines. It clears Taiwan as well. Look it up here into Japan. You're seeing into South Korea. You're seeing quite a bit in the way of moisture. This is actually your cold season. So you're getting mountain snow up in many of these areas. So South Korea just saw snow last week. So as we continue in time, yeah, pretty active as we go into Christmas Eve here. Some of these systems bear watching. And taking a look at rainfall totals here into the Western Pacific. Look at this. The Philippines continue to get pummeled with those heavy rains, upwards of 300 to 400 millimeters in some areas. So yeah, Central Philippines looking like the most at this point with these tropical waves and potential tropical systems. Vietnam also getting up towards 300 to 400 millimeters. You know, that gets you up towards the danger zone. We're getting in excess of 8 to 15 inch plus totals. And before we continue with more weather, check out these awesome, amazing maps that you won't find anywhere else.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease, or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
Temperature-wise here, we're going to be looking pretty warm for the first part of this week. Look at this, 50s all the way up to the Ohio Valley here, even eroding those temperatures of the 20s and 30s way up here in northern New England and the northern plains. As we get into Tuesday, look at that surge of warm air. So we're pretty much 50 degrees from Cleveland on eastward here, and 60s getting into North Carolina here. Look what's following behind this storm, though. Teens pivoting across the northern plains back into portions of Ohio is going to open up the lake effect snow machine as well with these kind of temperatures cooling down. And look at this, near zero or just below zero in northern Minnesota. Into Thursday, December 12th here, look at this. The cold air pivots 20s and even some teens for highs here into parts of the Midwest and the central Great Lakes. Into Friday, that spills over into most of the Northeast with even 30s down to the I-95 corridor here. And into Saturday, December 14th, look what's already starting. Another warm front pushing these 30s to the northeast. The extended forecast for my hometown viewers, Binghamton, Scranton, Upper Susquehanna, River Valley of New York, and Pennsylvania. We get through the week here, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We got the first storm system on Monday, the second one on Tuesday afternoon through Wednesday into Wednesday night. It's going to be mostly rain. We could be seeing close to an inch by the time's all set and done through Wednesday evening. And then Wednesday evening, that changes to snow on the backside. We could have 2 to 4 inches of snow. Stay tuned for this. This could be pretty interesting on the backside of the system. And then windy and sunnier, but much colder for Thursday. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, super thanks. You can smash that super thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone, share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.